Pseudo elements. Now, CSS pseudo elements are similar to pseudo classes. In case of pseudo classes, these were basically class fields which could be applied on different conditions such as hover, focus, or if let's say we have empty and other types of ones which we saw, which were all cases where there was some sort of an attribute set to the element or some sort of a condition set to the element by the actions or reaction on the web page, by the interactions of the users. Now, let's say pseudo elements are the elements which are not defined in your HTML document, but they exist or you can force them to exist. The one such pseudo element is before and after. Let's take a look how that works. Now, in this document, I created a simple span and I've written some text inside it saying this is a span, whereas it has also got a class which has given it the background color aqua and some padding, which makes it appear like this. And I can create more spans or more other items which look similar to this. Now, what if I wanted to add content before and after this without having to touch my HTML? Yes, you can achieve that using CSS till a certain extent. So for example, I have created my class declaration once more, but now instead of having a pseudo class, I want to apply a pseudo element. So a pseudo element declaration can be done using double colon marks. That is the two dots, one above the other, one, two. And let's say I want to use after. Now, the after setting allows me to introduce anything after this particular item. After, as in, it does not mean the element that arises after this. So, for let's say example, I introduce a bold type element. This is a bold line. Okay, nothing is going to affect this, no other style. So, let's say in case of my after, I am giving it a background color, and let's say that background color is blue. That has not been applied here. This means this after is not for the next element or next item that occurs. Even if this was, let's say, for example, a span, it won't have any impact on it. This is for the pseudo element, meaning the invisible element that you're creating virtually. Or you can call them virtual elements. The elements that are not existent directly in the document but are accessible to CSS styling. So right now there is nothing inside it, and I can introduce any custom content inside it or a simple text inside it by using the CSS property known as content. Content is a simple property, and you can use double quotes to introduce content. This is the after text, and as you can see, this text surrounded having a background color has appeared in here. Let's also set some foreground color to it. Color, I'm going to call it yellow. Now it's much more easy to look at. It's much easier to read now. As you can see, the content over here is having some simple definition inside. Okay. And we have given some color. And yet you see the background aqua color to it, which belongs to the span. Now we can change the background color of this after element as we need. We can also introduce padding if we want to make it look larger, which is in turn going to affect the size of the span. But if you see now, since I added 5 pixels to it and the font size was same for the after content and the normal content, the padding space is now consuming the exact space of the element itself. So what if I add more padding to it? Let's say I take it up to 9 pixels of padding. Now it appears to have overlap. Let me turn this into a full screen window. Yeah. You see, there is an overlapping and it seems to have grown out of context. This could be a styling that you require, maybe. Okay, you can use that. You can use this as a feature to have to show some highlight in text. I can also increase this font, making the effect look like as if only this much part of it has been magnified. So this can be used for various purposes, and that's again subjected to how you wish to use it. Instead of before, I can also turn this into after. I can also turn it into a before element. So by making it before, it is shifted before the original element. Here you see, this is now before, and it's not after. You can both have before and after. Now we have before and after. We don't have middle because the middle is the element itself. Okay. So let me also give some before, and we have after. Okay. Now since this text is too long and these are all one line text, inline elements, they appear to be overlapping each other. This can be adjusted by giving it a line height, but for now, I'm going to make things much more simple. So I'm going to change this content to arrows instead of text. So we can, and by arrows, I mean I'm going to use these angle brackets. And as you can see, this appears to have these arrows or angle brackets around it, which can be used for creating some sort of a illusion of selecting text or hyphenating it. Or I can even have this escape character introduced in there, which is your double quotes, right? And various stylings can be applied. You can also apply pseudo elements on pseudo classes on pseudo elements. So let's say I want my after class to also have a hover effect, and where I want to invert the background color into foreground color. This can be easily done. So let's say I use sp1. I need to access the hover pseudo class of sp1, and to it I want to apply the after element, or yeah, the after element, in which I can simply swap the background color with yellow and foreground color of the text to blue. Let's see what happens when I hover my mouse over this. And you can see the hover effect can be applied to pseudo elements. So pseudo elements allow us various types of permutation combinations, which are style friendly, and definitely this is all dependent on how you want to use it. Now in pseudo elements, we also have better options to play around with. For example, let's say a paragraph. Now I take a paragraph. This is my first line and some random text here. Right. Now I can apply a lot of stylings over here. So for example, if I want to have a pseudo element which is going to edit its first letter, so I can access P, which is the element tag. So I've used the element accessor. I could have used a class or ID. It's up to us. For convenience of using this, so I can access first letter. And for the first letter, I want to increase the font size. I want to make it XX large, or I can manually set it. And as you can see, the first letter has been turned much larger. I can set it background color or whatever CSS properties I want to. Similarly, I can also access the first line that I want. And for the first line, for example, we have the first line. I can set the background color to yellow green. And as you can see, the first line that is rendered, so meaning I can adjust the size of this. So if I adjust the size of the screen and the first line appears to have only these many words, it's only going to highlight these many words. So it's totally dependent on the width of the container that is available, or in this case, the width of the screen that is available. Let me readjust this. And as you can see, when I make it much wider, it has taken up maximum amount of width that is possible. That's how pseudo classes work. Let's also test out one more pseudo element. It is going to be for the list class. So we created an unordered list. So let's create a unordered list. And inside the unordered list, I can use list items. I'm going to use, let's say I'm going to have coffee, cookies, and portion of chips, which is a famous combination in cafes outside. So let's use this and let's style it in our own way. So I'm going to create a pseudo class directly without having any sort of a marker. I'm going to directly introduce this pseudo element that is marker. And you can see it is not attached to any class selector or element selector or tag selector. I've just introduced the pseudo class itself, which is known as marker. Now, marker represents all these items, the dots or the squares which appear right before the list items. Let's set it a different color. So I can give it a color, let's say blue, and you can see the color has been changed to blue. To make it more visible, I'm going to try a different color, and that doesn't appear that great. So I think it's up here. Let's use brown. And this is brown color, as you can see. Also, I can give it a custom content instead of the standard dot. So I can give content, and inside my content, I can simply have, let's say, my pipe and dash, and you can have your own custom content like this. Or I can even introduce smileys. Windows allows you to insert special smileys. To bring up this character map, you have to press the window key and dot. There has to be an equivalent on Apple and on Linux. You can look it up yourself on Google or Bing. So I can go to the smiley set and I can introduce, let's say, this one smiley here. Say we got smileys right here. So that's about pseudo classes. There are a list of pseudo classes that you can take a look at, and you can also try out on your own. That is pseudo elements, not classes. We have before, after, first letter, last letter, selection, and marker, and you can test them out yourself. I'll be attaching this sheet by the end of the course. Thank you.